Do you ever find yourself saying yes when you really want to say no? Or maybe you just go along with others just because you want to avoid conflict. That's what happens when your boundaries are soft. And while it might feel easier at the moment, soft boundaries actually and usually lead to feeling burnt out, feeling resentment in your relationships, and maybe even just losing touch with who you really are. So let's talk about soft boundaries for a little bit. Soft boundaries happen when you don't hold your limits firmly. Instead, with soft boundaries, you just allow other people to push right by them. And oftentimes you might not even realize it. Think of it this way. Imagine you're pouring a liquid onto a hard, flat surface. Right? So you've poured your water, your milk, your soda, whatever, juice. You've poured it onto the hard surface, and then you're going to try to push that puddle forward, or maybe even pull it back towards you. What's going to happen? Are you going to be able to push that puddle of liquid forward or back? No, because your finger went right through that boundary. That's what soft boundaries are like. People with soft boundaries often avoid saying no because they don't want to disappoint someone. They let others make decisions for them. They struggle to actually stand up and declare what they need. And then later, they end up feeling resentful because they feel like they've been taken advantage of. I do want you to keep one thing in mind though. If you are a person who is finding themselves that you practice soft boundaries, or soft boundaries are the type of boundary that you have currently in place in your life, let me tell you, it's not a weakness, it's not a failure, because you could still develop that. What it is, though, is a survival strategy that you have put in place for yourself. Maybe you grew up in a time and in a household where it actually wasn't safe to say no. Or maybe you learned that being agreeable kept the peace. But while soft boundaries might protect you in the short term, in the long run, they end up costing you a lot more. Well, Susan, I don't know. I know in the last video you talked about the 4 different kinds of boundaries. I don't remember what they are, and I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes I have trouble saying no, but I'm not sure what kind of boundary I have in place right now. What do soft boundaries look like? I'm glad you asked that question. So let's talk signs. A few of the red flags that you might notice in yourself include, maybe the biggest one is the inability to say no. You say yes even though you know you want to say no. You say yes even when your schedule is already overflowing, but you still commit. Second sign, or another red flag, is that you feel guilty. You feel guilty when you say no. You feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. You feel guilty for even taking a rest. Another sign that you might have soft boundaries. You downplay your own opinions and your own ideas just to fit in. And then another big sign that you might have soft boundaries in place is that feeling of resentment. You start feeling resentful towards that person or towards that relationship because you didn't stand firm and you didn't say no. And now you're blaming the other person, or you're taking it out on that relationship. Let's talk about an example. Let's say a schedule has already come out 2 weeks ahead of time, and you realize that you finally have a weekend off because you don't usually. You make plans to go to an awesome concert on Saturday, and then a friend / coworker calls and says, "Oh, Susan, you know what? oh, I really need you. Can you please cover my shift on Sunday morning? Because I really have to, whatever. And of course you want to say no, because you're going to go out and have a great time at the concert and get home late, and you're going to sleep in on Sunday and relax. But you say yes. Even though you instantly and immediately wanted to say no, you could bring yourself to voice that. So now here you are, committed to work on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. So now you decided to cancel your concert outing. How are you feeling about that relationship and about that person right about now? Probably not very good. And not only might you be feeling resentful towards them, you might also be angry at yourself for not speaking up. So constant soft boundaries, constantly neglecting your limits or ignoring your limits, it also has a risk because it does affect you. The cost of living with soft boundaries can include burnout, like I mentioned earlier, resentment towards the person or the relationship, which I mentioned earlier as well. You can start to lose yourself because you don't stand up for what you know is right and good for you. And then there's the unbalanced relationship. Because if you don't set up your boundaries, if you don't tell people this is up to where you can come with me, they might, if they're not good people, they might just continue to take advantage of you. And there are a lot of not good people out there. I'm sure you know some of them. I know a whole bunch of them. But it doesn't just fall on them, right? Because this is about you. This is about your choice. This is about the boundaries that you have put in place for you. So if people are taking advantage of you always saying yes, that's because you also trained them to expect that from you. And the danger here, it's not just exhaustion, emotional, physical exhaustion. It's also that you slowly and little by little, you start losing the ability to recognize your own needs and what's good for you. Because you've spent so much time prioritizing someone else's needs above your own. And if you're now sitting there and you're thinking, oh man, I think I might have soft boundaries. Susan, is there a way that I could change the kind of boundaries style that I have? Heck yeah, there's a way to improve that. There is always going to be a way to improve anything. Even if you're great at something, there's always room for improvement. So let's talk about the good news. Your soft boundaries, they don't have to stay soft. You can build strength without becoming rigid and shutting people out. Some of the areas where you could start off. Pause before you answer. If you had already made plans and that friend reached out to you and said, hey, can you cover my shift tomorrow morning? Because I've got to go somewhere with my family and you're the only person that can cover that shift for me because I already asked everybody and everybody else said no. And so you're the last chance that I've got. Hey, you know what, Susan? Let me check my schedule because I know I had planned on some things. Let me get back to you. You don't have to answer right away. You don't owe anybody anything. So pause before you answer. And then you can practice small no's. If you're tired after work and a friend or family member, anybody reaches out and says, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go grab a drink. Let's go do this. And you're too tired and you would have usually said yes just because, oh, I gotta go. They invited me and I can't say no because it's my best friend, because it's my favorite relative, because start there. and say, you know what, I'm really tired. I can't make it tonight. Thank you for thinking of me though. Start small. Start with small no's. Get a feel for it. And then reframe that no as self-care and self-respect and even self-preservation. Because saying no, it doesn't mean that you don't care about those other people. It's just telling those other people, it's just showing those other people that you care about and you prioritize you first. And that way you can protect that energy for when you do decide to say yes. Some boundary phrases that you can practice with. A simple, I can't commit right now. Or, you know, that doesn't really work for me because I've got something else going on. Or, thanks for thinking of me, but I can't right now. I've got too much on my plate. My schedule is full. And also remember, no is a complete sentence. Do you want to go out Saturday night to go have some drinks? No. It can be that simple. And with practice, these types of responses will start to feel more natural. And you might be surprised. People will actually respect them more than what you fear. So as I close out this segment on soft boundaries, what I do want you to remember, soft boundaries are not about being weak. Boundaries are not about being selfish. Boundaries are about being sustainable. Because remember, and I'm sure you've heard this, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't give of what you don't have. And if you have overextended yourself by giving and giving and giving because there's no boundary there, what are you going to have to give when a loved one really needs something and you really want to give it to them, but you don't have it? Simply because the right kind of boundary was not in place. By learning to stand firm, to hold firm boundaries, you give others the gift of you. Because you are a gift. Your time is a gift. You give others the gift of you, the gift of who you are, and the gift of your presence. So here's today's reflection. Where in your life are you saying yes when you really want to say no? Write it down somewhere or drop it in the comments because I'd love to hear. Identifying it brings awareness, and awareness is always the first step to change. In the next episode, we're going to be discussing rigid boundaries, which are on the opposite end of soft boundaries. Rigid boundaries are often the emotional walls that we have built because we've been hurt too many times. If you found this episode helpful, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell. And drop in the comments, no is a complete sentence. I'll see you in the next class.